Alright, hello everyone, and in today's video we are going to be talking about where I would rank every one of the main Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition classes. Now, I'm going to give this little thing really quick. The Artificer is not on this list, however, I would give it a C. However, with that, let's get into this. Okay, first of all, Barbarian. I'm putting Barbarian in D tier, and that's an unpopular opinion. Barbarian is the go-to class for new players, in my opinion. They play it because it's easy and there's nothing to keep track of. But Barbarian, in my opinion at least, is one of the only classes here that are just straight up combat focused. They have nothing else going for them. When else are you going to use Rage? To bust down a door? No, that's a use of Rage. Or that's a waste of a Rage use. And Barbarians just don't really have like roleplay incentive. Like, you can't do much with a barbarian, and they trade all this power for nothing. They're overly powerful and they get spells depending on your subclass. So that's why I'm putting barbarian in D tier, because personally I just don't like how barbarians play. And there have been so many times where I'm trying to do a session 1 mini boss and a level 1 or 2 barbarian will just be able to one-shot it. That's my opinion on barbarians. Alright, next up we have the Bard. It's going in B tier. B for Bard. Bards are pretty cool. They are definitely more support than anything. Like, Vicious Mockery is a really funny spell. Well, it's a cantrip. I actually have a variant rule with Vicious Mockery that I know that some other DMs use. If the insult is so good, or like if the insult is good enough, then you don't have to roll to hit. You just automatically hit the enemy. Which definitely makes a great character concept. However, one thing that people need to realize is that bards are not just music. You can play a bard that is really good at doing laundry. You can play a bard that is a really good painter. It's just most common to be a music bard because you can kind of travel with that. Alright, next up we have the Cleric. I'm putting the Cleric in A tier, and the reason why I do this is Clerics are not perfect. However, they are really good. First of all, you already have a roleplay hook built into your character because of your religion or domain. I make almost all of my clerics follow a religion of some sort, and the different subclasses can really change up how you play cleric, because you can play a cleric that is basically a wizard that does healing magic instead of destruction magic, or you can play the holy crusader stereotype that is kicking down doors with a giant mace and plate armor before going over to heal your buddy. That's why I really like cleric. You have a lot of roleplay opportunities, you get many different play styles, and it doesn't really like, how do I say this? It doesn't really give you a disadvantage for choosing a play style. Alright, next up we have Druid. And Druid is my main class, so it kind of really sucks to say this, but it's going in D tier right next to the Barbarian. The Druid is too many things all at once. You know that it's bad when you need to buy a copy of the Monster Manual to successfully play this class right. A lot of Druid subclasses just are not powerful enough or are too overpowered. For example, Circles of Spores and Circle of the Underdark. One is really overpowered, the other one just kind of sucks and no one plays it. However, the Druid can be so many things at once. Once again, you can be a pure spellcaster, you can be a supporter, you can be a person, you can be a bear person that is trying to just continuously wild shape every single time you start something. And then you can be like a half caster where you take a couple levels into fighter, and then you get heavy armor proficiencies. You can go a longsword, and then do your druid spells. Hold on. Alright, next up we have fighter. Now, Fighter is a really complicated class. So I'm deciding to put it as the first S tier of the video. A lot of people are going to say, well, if you don't like Barbarian, then why do you like Fighter? Well, because fighters can be useful outside of combat. Fighters have a lot of subclass that actually make them useful out of combat. For example, Arcane Knight, or what is it called? Eldritch Knight, and the Runesmith one, I think that's called. The Runesmith fighter. Those two are really good fighter subclasses. However, fighters don't need to be all that. Your fighter can just be a baseline soldier with roleplay. Now, I will say that fighters do rely on roleplay a lot, and they are a little bit underpowered. If I would give them a extra use of action surge before they get to level 20. However, that's my only complaint about it. Also, second wind is kind of underpowered. I feel like you need more second wind uses. Alright, the monk. Where do I put the monk? This is pretty obvious. However, I'm putting the monk in F tier, and I don't really think I have to elaborate, but I'm going to anyways. The monk, you don't get enough stuff early level. You quite literally are a fighter, but worse in every way. Yeah, you can punch someone after you strike them, but that punch is only an extra, well, it's only an extra like 1 to 4 damage, so it's not going to do much. Well, if you're a fighter, you just get extra attack or action surge, and you're doing that averagely within a turn. Alright, paladin. Hold on. Alright, paladin. What? My computer's having some difficulties. Hold on. Paladin. Another S tier. I don't really think I have to elaborate on this one either, but I am going to. Paladins, you have your oath, which is already a giant roleplay hook. You basically get the advantages of both the cleric and fighter. I'm going to make a video eventually on how paladin is a better healer than fighter. However, that's going to be a different video, like I've said. Paladin's great roleplay hook. You can be really tanky or really supporty, depending on how you build your character. Once again, just like the cleric. However, this one is built more towards a war style of gameplay, where you're going and beating up enemies. Sometimes I've seen paladins that are more strong than barbarians. Alright, hold on a sec. Alright, I've been drinking Baja Blast because my throat gets dry throughout recording. Alright, next up, the Ranger. My goodness. Alright, the Ranger. Putting this in A tier, I don't think that the Ranger is... I made an entire video on why I like the Ranger. However, that was just my specific build of the Ranger. I get that Gloomstalker is a very popular multi-class option because people will go drop a few levels into Ranger to get those extra abilities and extra spells and then go back to their main class. I am playing a pure up Ranger right now, so this might be some biased. It will probably drop down to B once I get done playing that character, or that character dies, or we finish the campaign, whatever. However, currently I think that Rangers get overhated. Alright, next up, Rogue. I've never played a straight up Rogue. However, I have multi-classed into Rogue, and so I'm putting them in B tier. You are basically you're a sneaky guy that does well with poisons and traps. They are a skill monkey. Have them be part of a thieves guild or something, and then there you go. You have a roleplay hook. They get a lot from their subclass. For example, Arcane Trickster. You get a lot of spells, which already makes sneak attack even more powerful if you take something like Mage Hand or Invisibility. So that entire class is just built around being very versatile. Alright, next up, the Sorcerer. This one is going to be odd and feel odd for a lot of people. However, I'm putting it in S tier. I personally prefer the Sorcerer over the Wizard. You get a lot of spells and you don't have to change them often. so it is very alluring to a new time for a first time spellcaster player. So basically they are kind of like diet wizards, and so this is a great pick for anyone that is trying to play a spellcasting character for the first time. They have a pretty good role playing hook with trying to figure out what magically affected their bloodline. All right. Also, they just are fun to play. Especially something like Wild Magic. Wild Magic is once again a really good way to play them. It just is one of my favorite classes. I went from Druid to Sorcerer to Paladin, and now I'm playing a Ranger. Um, so it's just all of that kind of biased. All right, next up, Warlock. Now this one's going to be a controversial opinion. I'm also putting Warlock in S tier. I know that a lot of people don't like Warlock just because of how underpowered they are. However, you gotta realize Warlocks cast their spells at the highest level. They get access to Fireball. What's not to love about them? Also, Eldritch Blast is a really good cantrip. And I know that there are ways to get Eldritch Blast without taking levels in Warlock. However, once again, Warlock is a really good multi-class dip. You dip into Warlock for a couple levels, get those cantrips, spells, and spell slots, and then get those Eldritch Invocations to help you cast with your other spellcasting class. And yeah, they're synergetic, basically. They're good for multi-classing. With my Ranger character, I might take a couple levels into Warlock. I haven't decided yet. Alright, now last up, Ranger. Yeah, Rangers are not Ranger. Jesus. Wizard. I'm putting Wizard in A tier. I've already said my thing about wizards. Their spell casting is good. Also having a spell book is also really cool because let's say you find a spell scroll, you write that down and spend some gold. Cool. Now you have access to that spell whenever you're preparing spells. Really cool concept. I don't see why anyone can't do that. Like I feel like a warlock or paladin or like a monk even should be able to pick up a spell book and like copy down other people's spells, but no, that's like a wizard mechanic only, which is kind of dumb. And they also gain really good subclasses. They are really good role playing, education wise. Usually they are very intelligent. Well, they have to be very intelligent. My baseline problem with wizards and a lot of spellcasting classes is that they kind of force your hand on the way that you play them. Like paladin, cleric, and druid kind of get around this, but wizard, warlock, and sorcerer, you're kind of forced to like be in the back and have the marshals protect you while you focus on spells, all that stuff. All right, everyone. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, please subscribe and comment down below what kind of content do you want to see next. All right, bye.